Hello everyone, Ventrua back, and before I start this video I would like to give a quick disclaimer. I've started SSF and I've started a Deadeye Gas Arrow build that uses either Flame Wall or Radiant Grief to explode gas arrows, and GGG has said before they do not like this mechanic and they might be changing it. We don't know when or how, but just keep in mind that there's a decent chance this build will get nerfed if you are watching this video. Right now, on December 13th, this build is working completely fine and good, but keep that in mind, please. Do not blame me if it gets fixed in the future. I'm not the one who popularized this build. I'm pretty much just stole most of it from Ben and other content creators as well. So I just want to put a disclaimer out there. Make sure the build works before you roll it, and be ready for nerfs if they were to come. I started leveling this build using lightning-based ranger combination of lightning arrow and lightning rods with scatter shot. You put scatter shot on lightning rods, you shoot them down, then you shoot lightning arrow into it or into mobs around it, and that is your clear. And you use Stormcaller arrow with concentrated effect for your single target. Honestly, just these skills were good enough to get me through Act 1 and 2, all the way to getting Gas Arrow. Gas Arrow was my main skill starting from the end of Act 2 all the way until now. I just got 2 maps. I only died once in the campaign. Honestly, the smoothest playthrough I've ever had. Well, of the 2 I had, and that says a lot because minions were also very, very good. But somehow Gas Arrow felt even better. Probably mostly because the mobility of Ranger is so nice that I felt like I was always in control and I wasn't really in much danger. The way this skill works is it shoots down poison clouds, and if anything that's ignited by you walks into the poison clouds explode and deal damage based on your weapon. The way we usually explode them is using Flame Wall. So there's gas, you put down Flame Wall, and whenever monsters walk into the Flame Wall, they get ignited and they explode. Or if you get lucky like me, or you play Trade League, you can use Radiant Grief, which is a helmet that allows everything in your presence, which is pretty much the whole screen, get ignited, and whenever that walks into the arrow, it also explodes. So those are the base mechanic of the build, and I would honestly recommend you try both of the versions, because there's people who prefer a Flame Wall version, there's people who prefer the automatic version with Radiant Grief, and honestly, I can see the benefits of both. If you play the manual version, you can actually let the gas cloud grow a little bit, because as you can see, if you shoot it on the ground, it keeps extending. You can't really do that if you use Radiant Grief, but it turns it into one button playstyle, which I feel like is preferred for most people, and I personally prefer the comfort of using Radiant Grief. So the skill gems you use to combine with Gas Arrow is Scatter Shot, as this just multiplies your damage. More projectiles equals more explosions. There's no diminishing return on it or anything realistically, or we at least don't hit it, so make sure to use Scatter Shot. Partial Tempo for more attack speed, and then I use Immolate. You can also use Primal Armaments for 25% instead of 30, but you can still ignite. But if you use the helmet that I'm using, there's no reason not to use Immolate. Then we have Flammability with Persistence and Inspiration, just to make it last longer and cost less mana, as it can be quite expensive if you end up leveling it. And if you use Flame Wall, you want to use Arcane Tempo and Spell Cascade ideally, or Barricade support. Up to you which one you prefer. For auras, you run Wind Dancer, Link to Blind and Maim. This actually procs whenever you get hit by a melee hit. It procs Gale Force around you, and enemies get knocked back, and you can inflict these debuffs. It doesn't proc very often as you don't really get hit, but might as well link something useful to it. And then in Act 6, I also equip Herald of Ash with Cannibalism, Precision, and Herbalism supports. Once you get these nodes down here, Coming Calamity, increasing your fire damage while affected by Herald of Ash. For the skill tree, I recommend actually pathing out through the projectile damage nodes and keeping in mind that you can respec them later into the attack speed nodes. And important note here, you should skip Clean Shot early on if you are leveling with Lightning using Stormcaller arrow, as it will not work when it pierces the enemy, so make sure to skip it and grab it later. Quiver nodes kinda depends on how good your quiver is. I didn't grab these early, I just delayed them until I would got a quiver that I was happy with. You could even grab these small nodes, just have to do the math whether these are better than actual damage nodes, but for me they weren't. The only reason I went for 50% increased effect is because I already have +2 on the quiver, so it had some extra benefit there. But you really want to grab these elemental damage nodes, these attack damage nodes, and these movement and skill speed nodes. Then you go for Feathered Fledgling, and then you travel to Mercenary area, grabbing some damage along the way, and ending here at Crystal Elixir and Forces of Nature, and grabbing Catapult for some projectile speed and area of effect. And then you go up there, pick up Coming Calamity, Vicious Gain, Proficiency, and travel to Falcon Technique. That is basically your leveling tree. I've also decided to pick up Blur somewhere along the way when I felt like I didn't need more damage, when my gear was pretty good, just to get a little bit of extra move speed. You can even opt into these two move speed nodes if your boots are not very good, as they can help a lot. Otherwise, this was extremely smooth leveling, and there's not much else to add to it. You shouldn't really struggle. The one thing I will say, if you're using Radiant Greave, if you're activating a boss, you wanna stand further away so it doesn't explode instantly, as every boss has like a 0.1 second immunity, and you wanna trigger it a little later to get the pre-stack damage that you normally get with Flame Wall a lot easier. And for Ascendancy points, I went for Gathering Winds, and I went for Point Blank here, because I think Point Blank is just numerically better than Far Shot, even though sometimes you end up playing at range. You can always choose to go into melee if you want to. You cannot always, you don't always have the choice to be at far range. I personally prefer Point Blank, but probably just play the game and see how you play, and then choose based on that. It's not too hard to respec. And my Merciless Lab or the third Ascendancy points are going to be Endless Munitions for extra projectile, as this is just a damage multiplier. Speaking of extra projectiles, the weapon you actually want is a weapon that has an extra projectile implicit. It's Dual Strike Bow, if I remember correctly, or the advanced and expert version of it. But generally, you just want bow with as much damage as possible, either physical or elemental, doesn't matter too much. And I ended up with a good Zealot's Bow instead that doesn't have an implicit, but it was good enough that I didn't want to use War's Dual Strike Bow. Otherwise, my gear has nothing special on it except mostly life resist, whatever I could pick up in the story. Quiver, I already talked about. If you have a good quiver, make sure to pick up the quiver nodes. My quiver is like decent, so I ended up picking them in Act 6. It's pretty good because the arrow speed converts into damage as its projectile speed. Some damage with bows, and +2 projectiles turns into +3 with the 50% effect. And body armor is the majority of your defense, and you should really focus on having evasion there as much as possible. For example, if you look at my evasion right now, it's 10,200. If I take off my body armor, it's 4,200. It's literally 6,000 evasion. You get a bunch of evasion from Bistro Skin here, and in general, body armor is just roll the highest. Ideally, you would even have evasion runes in there instead of fire resistance. So just keep in mind, the main stat on body armor is honestly the evasion rating, because once you get to like 15-20k evasion, you can start thinking about clicking acrobatics, which will make the build feel a lot tankier, as it will allow you to avoid like ground effects and AoEs. Until you have like 20,000 or so, I wouldn't recommend it, because you will start getting hit by like melee attacks and dying to those instead. So try to focus on getting a good evasion chess piece, as it is very important, and it honestly makes you really not die to like random attacks. Like the game tells me I have 86% chance to evade. I don't know if that's true or not, but it generally feels like I don't really get hit much. So, you know, it's probably pretty close to real. When it comes to attributes, just take whatever you need. Honestly, this build needs a decent amount of int to use flammability. And once you are switching to Herald of Ash as well, you need some strength to equip it. Try to keep a low level Spirit Gem for Herald of Ash. For example, I'm using level 6. So just keep that in mind for later. If you can keep like a level 4, 5, 6 Spirit Gem uncut for later, it will help your strength requirements. But honestly, getting some more strength later doesn't hurt because it gives you HP as well. But the build is pretty stat starved until you get to proficiency, as you need a lot of dex, decent amount of N, and decent amount of strength. So keep that in mind. Don't throw away items with stats. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I will be continuing playing this build in SSF over the next few days. Hopefully I can get a lot of progress done. I will try my best to keep you guys updated. And if the build was to get nerfed, I will make sure to post my update on what I am doing with the character afterwards. It's likely that I might switch to a lightning version of the character. or just play something else. I will decide on the spot when or if it happens. Anyways, I hope this short overview of the character and whatnot helped you guys. If it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel grow a lot. And I will include a little bit of footage from the leveling and a showcase of a map with and without the helmet, just so you can have an idea on how the build looks before you decide to play it or not. Anyways, that's gonna be everything from me for today. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye. Okay, so I trigger the boss, and I go far away. I start pre-stacking. Okay, that works actually. Yeah, you guys were right. Oh my god, that's so broken. I mean, I love how people were memeing about Headhunter being bad. Like... And the pre-stack is actually so good when you don't mess up like I did. Guys, I don't know if I would listen to Ragden about any opinion. I'm pretty sure he's literally playing fucking World of Warcraft. Because last time I joined Discord, they were talking about the fucking GDKP. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't think there is right now. Really hope GGG allows online filters so you can do that. Oh, right, I forgot. The explosion is kind of satisfying when you let it grow a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I could see the argument for it being faster clear, honestly. Like, I could definitely see it being faster if you play perfectly. But also, I wanna be lazy.